Welcome to Canadian Innovators, the show that celebrates innovation, entrepreneurs, and the Canadian spirit. I'm Jocelyn Bamford, and every week we introduce a new entrepreneur or expert in the economy to tell their stories and unpack the challenges of keeping jobs in Canada, as well as share ideas for economic growth and prosperity. Today on the program, we are profiling one of North America's largest fabricators of metal composites and also one of the largest manufacturers of engineered panel systems, Sobotec, which is headquartered in Hamilton, Ontario. Chedo Sobot is the principal. Welcome to the program, Chedo.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you very much.
So, you have grown an amazing company. Walk us through your journey and how you got to where you are today.
A long journey. Started in 1988. A couple of engineers, two brothers. We're both engineers, but we have slightly different backgrounds. One had more of a sales background with access to a specific product. Myself, I had much more of a construction background, working on some large projects, and we got an opportunity to represent a product that originated in Switzerland and was being built in the U.S. At that point, we sat down and thought about do we give up some very very steady jobs, growing risks, growing family, those kind of things, and mortgage ourselves and get into business. And we definitely, that was something that we've always wanted to do. So started in 1988 with a very small group, about 4 or 5 of us, and then grew steady through the 90s. We were very much focused on the Canadian marketplace, local here in Southern Ontario. But then through necessity, in the early 90s, we did a really nice job out in Montreal, just outside of Montreal in St. Hubert, the Canadian Space Agency, large project. And we realized that we were capable of doing that kind of work. Then in around the 94 or so, we were introduced to the US market. At that time, wasn't that difficult to get into the US market as long as you had some good partners. So we started slowly getting into that side of it. Also in 1994, we were approached by Petro-Canada. They wanted to do a whole new reimage. And we were fortunate to be chosen because of our background, because of the product that we have, to take care of two markets, London and Halifax, and spent about 7 months reimaging those two complete markets. Redid all the gas stations for them, and then took another 6 months or so for them to do their marketing study. And fortunately, they really, the consumer really liked the new look, and that resulted in a program that we continue to do to today. We're still working a lot with Petrocan, and then from mid 90s, we got into more big work. We did a very large job down at Windsor, the Windsor Casino, which is Caesars right now. All the while, we continued to expand into the US. All the while, we ended up building some very, very good partnerships, very good relationships with people down specifically in Indianapolis, in Chicago, and Washington, New York, Boston. And slowly penetrated that market.
So tell
The
us,
early 2000s. Yeah. Mhm.
Chedo, for your product. Explain to the viewers what your product is and what you deliver. I know you've worked on
Oh,
some major projects, but what exactly
yeah.
does Sobotec do?
So we specialize in building exteriors and facades. So we design the exterior system. Typically, it's either solid aluminum or composite aluminum, HPL, but typically we're in metal. Through the years, we've expanded into building not only the actual panel system, but the whole backup structure, especially in our own marketplace. So we engineer the extrusions, we engineer the attachment system, we test those systems, we will engineer pretty well every large job specifically. and we will, we will manufacture it, and then we will install in our own area.
So
In the U.S., we won't install. Yes,
we're going to go to
go ahead.
commercial. We're going to see pictures of your plant more when we continue on Canadian Innovators. We are back. I'm speaking with Chedo Sobot, principal of Sobotec, located in Hamilton, Ontario. Chedo, you brought some video along to highlight your company's capabilities. Tell us about your manufacturing process.
We have a very large facility here. We have on 15 acres, we sit on 180,000 square feet of production and about 30,000 square feet of office space. Because we're so engineering focused, we have, I would say, one per every 2.5, one designer slash engineer slash project manager for every 2.5 people in our fabrication facility. But we're nicely spread out, and over the years we decided that as the buildings became available, as necessitated, we bought the properties sort of north and south of where we started, and that's how we grew to this such a large, a large location. And in 23, 24, after COVID, when we had really, really high demand, we needed every little bit of that space. It was critical to us to have the ability to pre-build, to store, to stage all of our work, and be able to continue to perform with so many jobs at one time. Because typically we'll have about 120 to 150 jobs ongoing at the same time.
Amazing. So how many employees do you have at your location
We're
in Hamilton?
we're currently around about 230 at this time. At the peak, we're well over 300 people, about 320 people or so. Plus, we also have a design office in Serbia, in Europe, of 30 people there. So they will do all the work. So they're not just a design office, but estimating office, engineers, and designers that will do the work that they'll actually do all the design for the work that we perform here and in the U.S. So about 260, 270 at this point.
Significant employer for the Hamilton
plus
area.
Installers. Yeah, plus installers, because most of our installation crews are sub-installers, but at any given time, we may have 30 or 40 people out in the field.
Amazing. Chedo, let's talk about the tariff situation. I know that it's been impacting you. What does the lack of a deal with the United States mean to Sobotec?
It's definitely challenging us. We continue to get work. However, we've had to really drop our margins in order to do so. We continue to do work in Canada, even though we do have a weak economy. So the U.S. work that we are losing out on right now because of the our higher costs, and not being able to compete as much as we used to down there, we can't replace all of that work here in Canada because the marketplace just simply isn't big enough for us. Now, what we're also finding since last April, since the tariffs were imposed, what we're finding is very, very quickly pricing balances out for a number of reasons. Our U.S. competition, their input costs go up. They also find out that our pricing is higher now, and they'll capitalize on that, and their pricing will go up. And so realistically, over the number 6 to 8 months, pricing really balanced out. So again, we became competitive. However, the end user was paying a lot more money for what we used to provide a year ago, 2 years ago, because of these tariffs, because of cost of aluminum. So I can't speak even on the steel component of it, but certainly on the aluminum side, we also have the ability now to go to the U.S., buy the U.S. cast and smelt aluminum, and buy the plate, the ACM, the extrusions. We have a good extruder, has a plant down in Youngstown. So we buy that product down there. We bring it up here, we process it all and resell it and ship it down into the U.S. At a 10% tariff, which is realistic, which nobody's really going to complain about a 10% tariff or a tax or whatever it may be. However, the problem will arise, and we're concerned that down the road, that American cast and smelt aluminum will just disappear. They don't have the capacity to produce enough. And so now our competition, the fabricators in the US, will now have to come to Canada or go elsewhere and pay 50% tariff for the aluminum that they have to use. So again, these prices will continue to rise.
So
And
significant.
in the end, significant rise in pricing. In the end, it's the end user that pays for all of this.
Well, we're going to go to commercial. Don't go away. You're watching Canadian Innovators. Welcome back. I'm Jocelyn Bamford. My guest today is Chedo Sobot, principal at Sobotec. Let's continue discussing the Canadian-US Free Trade Agreement. Do you see any light ahead for a deal? I know you talked about how it impacts your business on a daily basis.
I'm very optimistic that there will be a very smart, very productive, very innovative process in the background, simply because our economies are so intertwined and that they're so similar. And when you think about going all the way back to 1988, when we started and when the original NAFTA was drafted, realistically, the two countries understood that free trade is the way to go, because we are so similar. So to impose such restrictive tariffs of 50% or 35 or 25, whatever they may be, it just doesn't make any sense. And to me, the USMCA renegotiations, I know they're happening bilaterally right now, US and Mexico, because I feel that they have more critical items to resolve. I think the fact that we're not talking as much right now about what we're doing, what we're negotiating, I'm sure that's happening in the background. But I feel that because we are so similar, the two economies, that there are some very good decisions being made in the background. And I feel that ultimately, if somebody really wants a tariff, fine, put a tariff on, but make it 10, 12%. So it becomes, a tax. Doesn't mean ultimately it's a tax on the US consumer, and it's a tax on the end user in the US. And what we found over the years is every time there was a Buy America clause, whether it be by Bush or Obama or Clinton or any one of the administrations, in the end, the American consumer, the developers, in the end, they see the fact that the price goes up. It always goes up. And they're the ones who will go and call their people and call their governor, call whoever and say, look, this doesn't make any sense. We have a good system that works. We have a good neighbor to the north that provides, in our case, provides aluminum because they can and we can't. This whole idea of Americans, creating their own aluminum and building their smelters and not having the ability to actually power up these smelters, that just isn't going to happen. It may happen 7, 8 years down the road, but there's way too much disruption that will happen through the process. So realistically, I'm very optimistic. Let's put it that way.
So tell me, Chedo, what do you want to see from both sides of the government, from the U.S. and from Canada officials? What would you like to see in the next 90 days?
I can't speak on behalf of any of the other trading sort of segments of the marketplace, but certainly with us, I'd like them to understand that, Canada, especially Quebec, they're the ones that can produce all this aluminum. Let us do what we do well. Let them do what they do well. Let us compete. Let us compete on an even ground. Even though Trump's administration consistently keeps saying, "Well, you're unfair to us." Well, that's a very broad term, and I'm not really sure if I agree with that at all. So it's all about let the market dictate what's going to happen. And so the politicians, even though these politicians keep saying they're business people, but they keep imposing rules that just don't make any sense to me. Let the marketplace dictate what's going to happen.
So tell us, Chedo, what is your biggest challenge in keeping jobs in Canada? We've just got about a minute left.
For me,
Yes.
Um, well, I mean, there's pressure for us to move into the U.S. There's a pressure for us to open a plant down there. For us, it doesn't make sense because of our size. We need the large, medium, small jobs in one facility for quality, for all of the proper reasons why you want to do it in one place. Uh, the pressure to keep the jobs here. I feel, when you look at the tax structure down there, you look at the tax structure here. I don't think they're that far apart, certainly for businesses. It's all about, okay, do you have to produce where you sell? I don't believe so. I think with Canada, US, with so much north-south trade, we're just too similar. And geopolitically, we have to be close together. There, there, we have no choice. We have no choice. We can certainly go and try to trade with Asia, with the European Union, that kind of stuff. But unless we can trade with the U.S., we simply are not going to survive as a much stronger economy that we are right now here in Canada.
Okay, we got to go to commercial. More on Canadian Innovators when we return. Welcome back. My guest today is Chedo Sobot, principal of Sobotec in Hamilton. Chedo, this is the part of the show every week. I ask my guest, if you were a politician, what 3 things you would do to grow jobs and the economy in Canada. Chedo, you have the floor. What would you do?
3 things. I think one main one is, in general, make the young people or anybody, make them proud to be entrepreneurs, make them proud to be business people, and make it easy for them to open up a business and celebrate that ambition. That's critical. That really is critical. You need to incentivize folks to do that. And I feel, the tax structure and the small business taxing it's set up properly and gives that incentive. But I just strongly feel that they need to do that. Now, schooling as well, universities, colleges, they need to do more. I'm finding the universities and colleges they're not as demanding when it comes to expectations of their students, and certainly not the expectations that we used to have back in the 70s and 80s. It was much tougher back then, from what my comments or my communication with current students. So celebrate, teach, and incentivize. Make sure that those who want to start a business feel like they're going to achieve, they're going to succeed, and they're going to get the help along the way.
All great advice. So, Chedo, if you were to speak to Prime Minister Mark Carney and ask him to do one thing, what would you ask him to do?
I would ask him to go to the back room, call up Mr. Polyev, sit down together and say, okay, what do we together need to do to make this country succeed, make everybody feel like they're part of the same, same process, same goals. I'm hoping that, I would love to see politicians who are there for the right reason. I would love to see them to say, yes, this is what we're going to do for this country, and we're not going to have to worry about whether we're going to get the votes and get reelected again. That's my biggest peeve about politics these days is it's all about getting the votes, and it's not about being there for the right reason. So I'd like to have Mr. Carney and Mr. Polyev sit down and say, hey, we're very smart people. Let's do the right thing and come up with the right decisions and move forward. And quite frankly, hey, let's agree on something. And I know what their job is. They need to push each other and stuff, and that's fine. But let's do the right thing.
Yeah, we seem to be at a pivotal moment in the Canadian economy where we need to everybody on the same page. So I have to agree with you there.
Oh, absolutely.
So, Chedo, tell our viewers what the most important thing you've learned in your various endeavors and as an entrepreneur in this country.
Most important is the people that you're working with. It's about developing the right mindset in your business. Make the people really appreciate the fact that they're there and that they're part of the solution, that they're part of our goal. They get paid very well, uh, and make sure that they fully understand that my goal is same as their goal and vice versa, and ultimately the business's success is everybody's, and it really is amazing how quickly we go through this and how quickly we go through 38 years. And when I see my key people, my key vice presidential layer, when I add up those three folks, together they have 80 years of experience at Sobotec, and it's incredible how they have that ability to stay, learn, and then teach, and incentivize the young people. And most important is all the young people that come through, get them to understand how important it is to be part of a team, how rewarding it can be to be part of the team. And quite frankly, we've had some very, very good young people that have gone through this place and moved on. We have competition. We have offshoots of companies from Sobotec we compete against every day.
Well,
But they're great because they make us better.
Chedo,
Yeah,
I
they make us
have to
better.
stop it there because we're out of time, but great conversation. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Jocelyn.
That's all the time we have for today. Thanks to my guest, Chedo Sobot, principal at Sobotec. I'm Jocelyn Bamford. Thank you for watching Canadian Innovators. If you're an innovator, tell us your story. Write us at ideas@thenewsforum.ca, and we'll see you next time.